Remember to guard your privacy and abide by community guidelines. Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Man Cave. And yes, this shirt was wore out at least 10 years ago. It was hanging in my closet. I thought, why not get it out and wear it? It might as well make a grease rag out of it or something, And that may be just what I have to do with it. It may turn into a grease rag because I got to help Isaac with his go-kart later, about 2 o'clock or so today. So, yeah, I don't know exactly what that's going to entail, but apparently it's not running properly. And that's probably going to be a challenge because Isaac's pretty good with mechanical stuff. So we'll see. Even though I said the shirt was wore out at least 10 years ago, I'm sure I could have said the same thing about me. You see this scar between my eyes there? That's the one that I got at the same time I got this scar up here where the mini excavator threw me into the window. Well, this one reactivated over the last few weeks. In fact, it never did really heal properly, I don't think. It always felt a little tender, and I kept feeling like there was a bump growing, a bump growing, a bump growing. Finally, yesterday, I squashed it, and it was completely full, and it sprayed out of there. It was blood and other gooky junk. I felt like you just needed to know that. But at least today, it's feels like it's gone now. I mean, it's the first time it hasn't felt tender. It feels perfectly fine now. So I assume I got rid of the poison that was in there, whatever it was. Yesterday afternoon, I worked on the trigger guard, and I got that finished, and it fits up. Worked out pretty well. Maybe not the finest piece of engineering ever, but it worked. So I'm happy with that. And let's see, then after I worked on that, we had a band practice last night. And I'm really only contributing 2 songs to the whole show at the church. I'm going to contribute Mary Did You Know? And, well, the one I said the other day, Oh Holy Night. So I'm doing those 2, and I've got my work cut out for me because both of those are complicated as heck. Of course, the band has to play them too, so that's pretty hard. I worked on a side panel for this stock this morning. This is just a mock-up. It's not going to be the real thing. It's just a practice piece. And the idea was to put something on here. Now, it doesn't look good because it's white, and it wouldn't be white. It would be the same color as this. And then what I was thinking of doing is putting a border around it, do the checkering inside the border, and leave an open space, and in that open space, put the rose or whatever. The reason I was going to do that, put one on each side, is because this is so thin, and the wood, walnut's pretty brittle. You can break it. So if I did that and, glued it on with Titebond, that would fix that problem. It wouldn't be brittle anymore. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking about doing. Okay, let me show you what the problem is with that, though. On this side, assuming, I'm not even settling on that shape yet. That shape is just the first thing I tried. And the reason I picked this diamond-looking shape on the ends is because your checkering is in that pattern, and so you could border up to that, and it's kind of the standard for rifles. They do this kind of shape a lot with checkering, so that's why I just kind of picked that. But the problem is on this side, because of the bolt, and if I put that in the right place, well, then the bolt cuts through right there. Anyways, you can probably see the hole there. Anyway, that's not going to work. So I don't know what design I'm going to come up with yet, but I've got to come up with something. And in case you're thinking that that's completely non-standard, it sort of is, but there are rifles that have that area there built out extra thick. And so I'm more or less copying that idea, and I'll make it with walnut, so you won't hardly be able to tell it's an add-on, but I just want to figure out a way to decorate it and to make it look good. So if any of you artistic geniuses out there have a better idea of something that would look really cool in that area, I'll leave that up there so you can get a good visual. And then something along those lines there. If anybody has any real good ideas and they want to send them to me, feel free. So I'm sure I'll figure something out. That was just my very, very first effort, and I did that with my laser cutter, that Creality laser cutter that I have. I really like that laser cutter. It's very, very, very good. Let's see. So I got that far with it. Well, then I just decided to take a long shot on something. Well, my friends, we are back here in the Native American field. This is what we call it. This is where the grave was that I found here. I've recreated it as close as I can to what the original looked like. I put up these 4 posts to possibly make a pavilion over it, but really not. It was mostly just to mark it so we don't run over it with the tractors or anything. All the way up there on the hill, in kind of that little clearing area right in there, that is where my tower stand is. There you go, you can see it. It's a long, long, long way up there. If we go back to, your standard full power here, right about there. That's kind of give you a perspective. I think it's 450 yards, 440 yards, something like that. Don't really know for sure. But anyway, I'm going to attempt a shot from up there with my 308 with my new stock. I'm just going to lean a target up against this and see if I can hit it. I doubt I can, but I'd just like to see how much this would drop from there. Now, I'm not going to show the shooting because I know YouTube doesn't like me, so I'm just going to show you the results. But anyway, I'm going to lean this here. So that's what it looks like. And hopefully that's facing up there to the stand well enough. So anyway, I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens. Literally give it a shot. I don't even know if I can see that bullseye from back there. I'm expecting it to drop in the neighborhood of down in here somewhere, but I really don't know. You never know. You just don't know. So I'll show you what it looks like from up there when we get up there. Well, that was a crazy, eventful, aggravating trip. I tried to come up, we were way over there, and I tried to come up this hill here, and I got about halfway up here, and there was the trees across, and so I couldn't get through. So I tried to back down. Well, then the thing kept sliding sideways, got up against a tree, almost didn't get out. It was a pain. It was a major pain. So I had to go way, way around, come around this way, come back down. So we made it, and there's what the tower looks like up close. It's been up there 3 or 4 years now, maybe 5, I'm not sure. And so from up there is where we will be doing the, sighting in, I guess you'd say. Here's the view from up here. That's where the Native American grave is over there. There's a view at the pond. There's the pond, the spring pond that I made. And we'll zoom it in here to the Native American field there. Hopefully we can, now that it's zoomed in, okay, there's the target there, roughly in the center of the screen. And there's limbs in the way, which don't help anything, but I'll do the best I can. Well, before we look at it, I'll tell you I made 3 shots. Aha, I see one, I think. I think that might be one. I'm not sure that's one even. That might be one. 1, 2. Maybe that's one. Let's see. Yeah, that's definitely one. And, well, I see one. For sure. I don't, there's the second one. So we got one there and one here. There's about 6 inches of height difference in those. And I don't know if I see the third one. For sure I got 2 in there. I shot 3 times and I was aiming here. So that's a drop of, well, there's one, there's the other. Huh. Yeah, that's a long, long way. It's 1, 2. So it's what, a good probably 30-inch drop. So nearly 3 foot of drop. And that is all the way up there. I just didn't have any idea how much that would drop. I had no idea. I figured it would be a couple of feet, but it looks like it's closer to 3 feet. So if I happen to see something nefarious out here, like Bigfoot or a wild boar running around from all the way up there, I'll know to aim about 3 foot over its head. At least I hit it twice. I'm almost impressed that I hit it twice from that distance. That's a long way. I wished I would have hit it 3 times, but I don't think I did. Lay it down this way where I can see it better. Nope, looks like just 2. That looks like that's it. Oh well. And those weren't really exactly what you call great shots, but from that distance, close to 500 yards, I really don't know. I can't remember how far it is. I'll try to get the rangefinder up there one of these days and give myself a better idea. Yeah, that's about 5 football fields. That's a long, long way. That's sniper territory there. And yeah, it's, I don't know. The first thing I should have thought about was I haven't even sighted that gun in years. There's no telling if the sight's really that accurate at that, especially since I've been working on it so much with, putting it in and out of the stock that I'm making for it. And I did shoot that with the new stock, by the way. I learned one thing the hard way. My new trigger guard, I have like this is how I'm holding it. So this finger's under here. Well, when the recoil hits that metal thing hitting right there, that don't feel good. It don't feel good at all. So what I think I might do is I may have to remake this and redesign it, because I've got a lot of room between the back of the trigger and here, and redesign it and move this forward, move the whole thing forward. I wish I could bend it, because if I could bend it, I would, but this aluminum, it don't like bending that much. I did get this bent, by the way, yesterday. I did heat it up with just a propane torch. But anyway, for a homemade trigger guard, it ain't too bad, but I kind of think I need to redesign it, because that does put a world of hurt on that second finger. It actually hurts more than you might think. It jams it back pretty hard. A 308's not the biggest gun in the world, but it's got plenty of power. It's a pretty flat shooting gun too, and as evidence of the fact that you're shooting 500 yards and it's dropping about maybe 3 feet. And, I didn't have the best rest, and I have a few other excuses too, but I think if practice that just a little bit, I'm pretty sure I could dial that right in. But that was just 3 off-the-cuff shots. Then after that, I just thought I did get a shot at something else. Well, there you go, my friends. This is 2 huge loads off of my trailer. Some of these pieces, even though they're hollow, they're solid enough, trust me. And a couple of them, I guarantee you, weigh more than I do. I guarantee you. I had to get a ramp and roll them up and even... Well, that didn't work. That's the one from yesterday. I tried to change it just now while it was live, and it didn't seem to take. Let me go back to it real quick. Well, even though I didn't make a real good shot on that target, I did make a score right here. I found this wood that I had sawn on the trail when I was going down the other side, and this stuff is good stuff. It's very hard, solid red oak, very heavy. In fact, it's real heavy. So I'll have a little more firewood. I can actually dump this, but I didn't want to dump it because I was afraid it was so heavy it might break the tailgate off. In fact, it's so heavy I'm not sure it'll lift it. It's barely lifting it. Let's see here. Put this on the back here. That'll help it a little bit. That'll help it a little more. So there you go. That should dump it. This Vevor actuator is much slower than any of the ones I've had in the past. But it works. There it goes. Yeah, that was a heavy, heavy load. A lot heavier than it looked. Well, we've still got quite a bit of firewood, although I am burning through it. Am I ever? It's warmed up today again, though. It's pretty nice out today. Anyway, I don't know what else. I think that's everything I've got. So we'll go through the comments and see what's going on there. I'll get to go out and enjoy the weather working on a go-kart here in a little bit. Ronald Todd says, good afternoon, Jerry and everyone from the West Banks of New Jersey. Ronald Todd then says, the YouTube police might misinterpret taking a real long shot, morons. Yeah, well, I don't like to lie. I said exactly what it was. I'm taking a real long shot. And that's really what I did. Brian Byler, afternoon from cold Northeast Ohio. Dottie says, hello, everyone. And she's praying for us. And thank you, Dottie. Yeah. Man, I fight off the urge of telling you how bad it hurts. And so I just keep fighting it off. Dottie's praying for Eddie there. Let's see. And then she says, hit the like button. It helps the channel as long as Jerry follows the rules. LOL. Hey, I'm a rule-breaking fool right here. It's pretty bad. I still, for the life of me, I still can't figure out why Friday's got nailed and yesterday's didn't. Yesterday's had more looking at the gun than Friday did. Friday was very benign. I just had to be somebody complaining or something. And I did look out on my channel, and that video's gone. I don't see it anywhere. They don't have no reference to it. They don't have any reason. There may have been an email. I didn't look at that yet. There could be an email that they sent me that said, hey, we pulled this off. But there was no notification at least on the website. On my YouTube channel. So maybe I need to look at my email. Maybe there's something there. If there is, I'll let you know tomorrow. Ronald Todd, thanks. Look, he's talking to Dottie. Let's moving on down here. Let's see. Wavy Gravy says, as I finally arrive at my 76th birthday, my doctor told me there's nothing physically wrong with me that a few miracles couldn't fix. I think an infusion of pumpkin pie and coffee would help. That couldn't hurt. Richard Herbranson says, hi, Jerry. Watched some videos on checkering last night. Looking forward to see what you come up with. Yeah, it's I've been watching quite a few of them, and I did order the best professional kit out there that I could find, and I'm going to go for it. We'll see what happens. Bill Rhodes says, good afternoon. Kim Z from Arizona. And then after we went live, Bill Mumbo was the first one to pop in there. And then Ronald Todd says, your shirt, Jerry, it's just broke in. Yeah, it was broke in at least 10 years ago and maybe 15. It's definitely an old shirt. Got little tiny, holes in it like that. And, the thing about those holes, though, people think that's really bad. But honestly, that's the best part. That will outlast anything else right there. That hole will last longer than the whole rest of the shirt. Ben Boyd, have you ever seen frost flowers or ice ribbons? I just saw my first ones in person today. Yeah, I've actually shown them on the channel before, quite a few times, in fact. We get them here a lot. Yeah, and I haven't gone out for them this year yet, but I'm sure we probably already had them here. We get them quite a bit here. Rod Wintler says, Jerry, have you been following Itchy Boots lately? Yeah, I've seen the last couple of videos. She left us on yet another cliffhanger there. So I don't know. It just seems like a very, very remote area where she's at. And it's almost as remote as where I'm at. People come here and they think, golly, you live in, where you live, you have to bring your own sunshine with you. Bill Mombo says, at least it hasn't ruined your good looks. Oh, well, nothing could touch that. Paul Akers says, hey, it's cold in North Carolina. Simon says, after last night's post, I had a thought. You said you struggled a wee bit with rolling the logs you'd cut. Surely you have or could make a log cant. Yeah, I have plenty of log cants. I got a couple of them. I keep them on my sawmill for the most part, but I don't recall saying I had any trouble rolling a log. But the firewood, those things were just flat heavy, just those pieces of firewood. I'm talking there was a couple of those suckers that I bet were 200 pounds, and I'm not kidding. Like those ones that were in the back of the Ranger there just now, you think he's exaggerating. Those, every bit of 75 pounds, and they might have been 100 each. They were very heavy. Trust me, that red oak is solid, heavy, dense wood. And those are like almost 2 foot long each, and they're, 18 inches in diameter probably. So they're heavy. They're very heavy. And so it wasn't rolling them around. It was just picking them up, putting them in the trailer. And a cant ain't going to help you with getting them up over that rail of that trailer. You got to remember that it's not just lifting them up to your waist. You got to lift them up to your chest to throw them over the wooden rail. Of course, I take the wood off a lot of the time, but at some point you got to have the wood back on there, otherwise everything falls off. So, yeah. Anyway, it's just not easy being me, and someday you'll figure that out. Let's see. Bill Rose says, where did everybody go? I don't know. Got me. Richard Herbranson says, maybe the third shot went through one of the holes that were already in the board. Well, that's possible. I mean, one of those large round holes, it's possible. I first thought you meant that I shot 2 bullets in the same hole. And I thought, well, that's really kind of you. I wish I would have done that. That would have been real nice. Put 2 bullets in the same hole. But no, I probably just missed. I mean, that's a long way. It's really hard to explain how little you have to move to miss a board that's only a foot wide. You don't have to move very much at all from 500 yards to miss something that's a foot wide. You can't even really express it. It's like it could just be the least little thing, just the least little thing. I'm impressed I hit it twice. It's the first time I've ever tried to shot that far in my whole life. I've never shot that far. GMP Old Marine Shop. Hi, Jerry. Any construction in your area? Too bad when they clear lots, they couldn't give you the wood. Well, there's nothing close by that, yeah. And, if there was, they would probably be selling it as firewood anyway. These guys around here, they're pinching every penny just like everybody else. So I got plenty of wood here on the farm. Mike Saba. Jerry, I watch several YouTubers that shoot guns at targets all the time. Why do they seem to have trouble with their videos? One example is Hickok 45. Yeah, I watch them too, and I think the difference is they put them out in video format, and I got to thinking that maybe the problem is, all these live videos that I do, they're all set the same, and it could be that I need to go back and check that it has firearms content. That could be the problem. I haven't gone back and adjusted the settings. All of these live vlogs come up the same way with the same settings. And so it could be that. I haven't gone back to look and see if there's something that I need to change. But honestly, I think it's because we're live and they see this pop up, then they haven't had time to look at it. Where if you put it out in just a normal video, like you upload a video, well, they've got their algorithms that scan all those videos ahead of time, and then they approve them or whatever, and then they get to go up. I think it's because I'm live. I think that's the real difference. And then it might be those settings. I might need to go back and look at those. Anyway, Ronald Todd says, can you repost the video that they pulled? I don't have it. It's gone. I can't find a trace of it. Wavy Gravy. Jerry, here's a medical tip. If you drop a bowling ball on your bare toes, you'll immediately forget how bad your finger hurts. Boy, isn't that the truth? Yeah. I have those moments all the time. Like when I got nailed here and here, I kind of forgot about the arthritis for a little while. But in fact, that hurt so bad. I mean, that really was worse than it looked like on camera. Those of you that saw it, it was way worse than that. It really was. It hurt. It was pretty bad. In fact, I had to sit there for about 5 minutes before I even moved because it nailed me all through my neck, and it was, yeah, I thought I seriously broke something. Let's see. And GMP or GP Old Marine Shop says, how's the crickets in your ears? Any better? Seems to act up when you started wood cutting. No, they're really, really bad. I mean, like at this very moment, I almost feel like I have to shout. I'm not kidding you. I'm not looking for sympathy. It just is what it is. It's just crazy loud. And if you block it off, it's even worse. Yeah. So I just try to ignore it as much as I can. As long as I'm talking, I don't notice it so much. As long as there's other noise, I don't notice it so much. But if you let it get just the least little bit quiet, and even over the talking, I can hear it. Trust me. I mean, it's really loud. It's hard to explain how loud it is. It's really loud. Ronald Todd, you passed over my post about decorating the stock. Well, I saw it earlier and I don't know where it went. Okay, I see it there now. It says there's a variety of, it probably scrolled on me. These things, it keeps scrolling just left and right. After there's a variety of laminated products used as pen blanks, making pens that will add strength and decorative. Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm not even sure where to find that, but I'm really not looking for any specific laminate or anything. I'm planning to just put some more walnut over it to make it match, and probably cut it out of the same piece of walnut even. I kind of want it to match and not stand out too much. I know that this makes it stand out a lot, but this is just a mock-up. And it did exactly what I was hoping it would do. It showed me where the problem was going to be. Which I already knew, but I thought this might be still doable, but it isn't. So for sure I can't make the notches go in that deep if I use the notch pattern. And this pattern is a fairly common checkering pattern that they do on guns. I didn't trace it off of anything. I just made it up on my own, but a similar look to that is very common. So I'm thinking about doing it the other way. I'm actually thinking about doing something more of a rounded end or something like that, so that the bolt area won't mess that up. But I don't know. We'll figure it out. I want it to match as close, though, to the original wood as possible, I think. At least that's what I'm thinking right now. Let's see. Looking for where I was. I think it was the crickets. Ronald Todd says you passed over. Okay, then Simon says, I was loading a log as heavy as me, Jerry. I'd want all the help I could get. Hence my comment at 10 stones soaking wet, by the way. I'm 10 stones soaking wet. I don't know how much 10 stone is. Around here, that'd be really heavy, because these stones around here, some of them are as big as an elephant. We got some pretty big stones here on the farm. No, I know that is a weight, but I don't know how much it is, honestly, or how many pounds that equates to, and I'd have to have it in pounds to understand it. But seriously, some of those logs are as heavy as I am. I'm not kidding about that. I mean, they really are. And I don't normally load those by hand, by the way. I just did it that day for whatever reason. It was just like I didn't want to have to bring the machine all the way up there. And, a lot of those weren't the highest quality. And I thought, I'll just throw them in there somehow. And then if I need to split them, I'll split them when I get down there. So, if I couldn't do it, I wouldn't have done it. Let's see. Moving on down, Don Nice says, Jerry, maybe you hit treetops. Well, that's a possibility. I mean, it is possible I hit one of those little tree limbs that were closer to me. And if you would nick anything at that and it still has to go another 400 yards, good luck. It ain't going to hit nothing. You're not going to hit what you're expecting to hit. So that is a possibility that I hit something else. But the reality is I probably just missed. I mean, because that's a long way. But that is a good idea. I mean, it definitely could have hit something. Let's see. GP Old Marine Shop says, makes sense. Here it comes in the landfill is why I thought that. Here it goes in the landfill is why I thought that. Yeah, here, if you're talking about that firewood stuff, any builder around here, if they're cutting down trees, they're probably selling it as firewood, more than likely. This is not a, high population, like suburb type, place where they're going to be building a lot of houses. I mean, they probably are 20 miles closer to, or 15 miles closer to Rolla or something, there's probably plenty of those places. But out here, there's very little of that. And especially since I'm surrounded pretty much by Mark Twain National Forest. Gino Hitch says, hi, Jerry and friends. Got here late, still working on my bathroom. Well, that's a good thing to work on. You want to make sure those things work. Wayne Blitz, good afternoon, Jerry and friends. Hope all is well and safe with everyone. Keep it safe. Yep. And GMP says, wow, that tough. I have it too, but not that bad yet. It's annoying. I sleep, portable radio, music, earbuds. Yeah, it doesn't seem to bother me for sleeping. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say it does bother them, but when I'm awake, it is loud. It's really loud. It didn't used to be so loud. It's only gotten this loud over the last 3 or 4 months, actually. Simon Jardines, 140 pounds. Oh, okay. Well, 140 pounds. Well, I got you by a few there. I don't know how many stones it is, but I got you by a few stones. Let's see. Wavy Gravy. Has any doctor diagnosed your cricket auditories? Not yet. Not yet. I'm probably going to have to go. I just hate going to a doctor, especially around here. I mean, at the risk of sounding like a real jerk, I feel like I know just about as much as most of the doctors around here. It's pretty bad. It really is. The healthcare here, on its best day, it's pretty poor. Let's see. Yeah, Paul Walton says that'd be 14 pounds per stone. Well, I kind of figured that out, but I still don't know how many heavier I am. So I'm 60 pounds heavier, so 60 divided by 14. Let's see. Empress John, do you have room inside the stock to glass bed the action? I guess. I don't plan to do that. I'm not sure what that does for you, to be honest with you. I don't know what that does. I mean, I'm not opposed to it necessarily. I just don't know anything about that. Mike Saba, 1 stone is 14 pounds. Yep, there you go. Ronald Todd says, a lot of wood turners run around building sites collecting pieces. They turn them into Christmas ornaments and toys. Herb Branson says, any progress on the water wheel puzzle? No, I looked into it, and to find, any of them in the U.S., I asked Grok about it, for one thing, to see if it had recommendations, and it recommended 3 or 4 places. And all the ones in the United States, by the time you do everything you need to do, you're bumping $30 a box, $26 for sure. And it's like, that's just way too much. So Grok also said that if that's too much for you, then you could go overseas and you could buy them from a non-U.S. supplier, and you'll reduce the cost significantly. Well, I started looking into that. It looked to me like I might get it done for under $10 a box that way. Like $6 or $8 a box, which would have been about perfect, because then you could sell it for a reasonable price and it's almost worth your effort. And I say almost is that it's not going to make any money. I mean, by the time you pay shipping both ways, like shipping it from China and shipping it out here to everybody, you're not making any money. I wasn't doing this to try to make money, because if I was, I'd be doing something different entirely. It was just something to do, a novelty thing, and I thought you guys might enjoy it too. So if you could keep the price down. So then I thought, well, this seems like it's logical. I'll go with this overseas thing. So I start trying to fill out the forms, and I got lost almost instantly. I mean, like the very first page that comes up for ordering it, the only option that I saw on the whole page was, I forget, it was like 3 color choices, like gray, blue, and yellow or something. I mean, there's like 3 color choices. I'm going, what's that even about? It didn't refer to what the color choice was for. First of all, it was almost a blank page with just that choice. It's like, what is that even for? So I choose one, and I try to move on, and it wouldn't move on. And I mean, it just got real weird, and I couldn't come up with not like when I went through the American sites. It was fairly obvious what you were doing and what you were ordering, but on the Chinese site, it didn't make any sense at all. So I kind of got stymied on it. I haven't got back to it, so maybe I can eventually get that to work. But yeah, not simple. Never is easy, you know. Simon Jardine, just a thought, Jerry. If you were rolling short logs up a ramp with a cant, couldn't you need 2 cants? Yeah, it's just a hassle factor. That's all it is. I was out in the woods, you know, and did what I did, you know. In fact, I kind of forgot those logs were there, and I thought, well, I might as well get them while I'm here, you know. And so it's just one of those deals. And it's like over a half mile back to the house to, you know, go get the cants or anything. You know, it just wasn't worth the effort. I just manhandled them, got them in there. GP Old Marine Shop, they say it could just be as simple as wax buildup in the ears, I was told. Well, it could be. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Wavy Gravy, I think a doctor will tell you that you have tinnitus. Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure I have that. It's not uncommon, but it can be managed if you gets too annoying. James Dees, Jerry, God bless you and yours. I grew up with a match chute, and he always glassed the action and floated the barrel. Please tell us how your heating furnace works. Yeah, as far as the stock goes now, the barrel is floating for sure. It's only setting on these 2 points right here, basically. And the barrel itself is floating. It's not touching anything. Which is, to me, that's the important thing. At least that's always seemed to me to be the important thing. The glass bedding, I've heard of it. I just don't know what it is and what it does for you. So I just haven't bothered with that idea. But I might look into it. Please tell us how the furnace works. Well, it's an outdoor furnace. Let me back up and say that the furnace, when I first bought the place, was just a regular forced air wood furnace that was they had it in the laundry room. You know, we've just remodeled that laundry room. And remember, the ductwork used to go up through the ceiling, and I fixed that hole, patched all the ceilings and all that in that laundry room. So it was a forced air. It was in the house. Well, it smoked so bad in the house that it just really made a mess. Plus, you're carrying wood in and out. You're dropping bark and everything. It's just a mess. So I moved it out into the garage. And I ran it through the wall and hooked it in and ducted it into the furnace, and that worked really well. And I did that for quite a few years. And at least that way I could back the trailer in the garage. The wood was in the trailer, and you just throw it right out of the trailer, right into the furnace, and that worked pretty well. In fact, that might have been the easiest so far, but that furnace just wasn't that efficient, and it heated the house pretty well, but not nearly as well as this big outdoor wood furnace. Now, the way the outdoor wood furnaces are, plus you still have the problem of a fire hazard when it's in your garage. So you move it outside like this, and then it becomes almost non-existent as a fire hazard. I mean, I guess potentially there could be something, but for the most part, you've removed the heat source from your house, and you don't really have to worry too much about it. So what it is it's just a normal firebox that you throw wood in and you heat, and the wood burns, of course, and there's a little chimney in the back. But above all of that, there's this giant tank of water. And this one has, I'm not sure. I think it's 400 gallons, 300 to 400 gallons. I don't know. It's quite a few gallons. And it's got a pump on that circulates the water constantly. It just constantly circulates. No matter what, it's just circulating. And it goes into the house, and it goes through kind of like an A coil in an air conditioner, like the way coolant circulates through a coil on an air conditioner. It's the same exact principle, except that it's an A coil that's just for hot water. And there's two of those. We got two big Lennox pulse furnaces. So there's two A coils. The water is circulating through both of them constantly. Well, then, and that's just constant. And on the outside, there's a thermostat that keeps the water at a temperature between 160 and 185. And that's Fahrenheit degrees. And so it keeps the water temperature between that. So whenever the temperature drops below that, there's a trap door that opens and lets the air go in, and the fire kicks back up. And when it gets up to the 85, well, the little mechanical trap door shuts and it closes, so that it shuts off the air. There's times you can go in there, like on a warm day, you can open up the door and you think the fire's out because it doesn't look like it's doing anything, but it will catch right back up. It's amazing how well that works. That part works. So anyway, inside the house, it's just a normal, regular thermostat. Whenever the thermostat says we need heat, it just turns the blowers on the furnace on. That's all that's working on the furnace. The heat on the furnace does not do anything anymore. In other words, we're not burning propane at all in the two Lennox full furnaces. It's just that hot water circulating through there, and then the fans kick on and blow the heat off of those two hot A coils, and it heats the house. And it really heats the house very well. It's by far better than the thing that was in the garage. But it's a huge house, and it has to call for heat quite often because of the 7,000 square feet of concrete. The rest of the house is super insulated. I mean, it's not super insulated, but it's well insulated, the rest of the house. The attic, the walls, the windows aren't the highest class windows, but they're all double pane windows, and it just kind of is what it is. There's really no fixing it. The only real fix would be to tear it down and build a new house, or just move to the other house that we have up on the hill, and that's what we'll do when I get too old to mess with this. Let's see. I guess that's it. I don't see any other comments. 131 viewers. That's a pretty good number of viewers for today. So if you would all click the thumbs up, I would certainly appreciate that. Don Nice says, Jerry, does your shirt match your shoes? I don't know. What color is the shirt? Is it a faded purple? It looks like a faded red to me. I don't really know what it is. Looks like I'd say faded red if I was guessing. Then James says, I thought that you used either oil or water to transfer the heat. Is it hard being you, buddy? Yeah, it's just water transferring the heat constantly. It just runs. And the hype is that there's no heat loss on that. There's two tubes, one sending it and one bringing it back, and they're large. They're like this, they're probably 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches tubes. I don't know, something like that. And they're encased in an insulated pipe. And that insulated pipe runs all the way into the house, And the hype is that there's no heat loss on that pipe that, like they say, you can bury it in the ground and you'll never see the snow melt off. Well, we were the real test for that because we couldn't bury ours very deep because if you remember, there's a creek that runs under the house and there's a big concrete pipe that creek runs through that's buried. Well, it's only buried about that deep below the ground, that big concrete pipe. And therefore, we had to send our hot water between the top of that pipe and the top of the ground. So we're only about 8 inches or so below the surface of the dirt. Well, guarantee you, when the snow's on, it melts off in that direction right through there. So there is definitely heat loss out of the water circulating, even though the hype is that you don't lose any heat there. There's no heat loss there. Yeah, right. It's only because they buried them at 3 foot deep you don't see any heat loss, but there's definitely heat loss. It doesn't matter whether you're 3 feet in the ground or whether you're 6 inches below ground, you're losing heat in that pipe. Because the ground down there is it's cool anyway, and it's going to suck the heat out. So, yeah, it's really tough being me. Anyway, let's see. Have you ever played with Dale McCroy Band, Vincent, 1952? Oh, Del McCrory Band, the Del McCrory Band. No, I've never... Have I ever even met any of those guys? I don't think so. I never even met those guys. I saw them live once. Or am I lying about that? I'm not sure I've seen them live even. Now I think about it. I don't really know those guys. I love Del McCrory. He's awesome. I mean, and the Vincent Black Lightning, I do that song. That's a cool song. The Vincent 1952. David Sutter, I always use Accra glass for bedding, a must for accuracy. I'm not sure how I don't want this to sound smart aleck or like I know more than anybody else. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just telling you the facts. I've told you I was a competitive target archer for many, many years. And I was at the Olympic type level, so I was very, very good. And I don't mean to brag. I'm just telling you black and white fact. So because of that, I'm really good shot. I like 500 yards shooting at that little narrow board. I'm surprised I hit it twice. I really am. My point is, I can hit pretty darn good. With my deer rifles, I seriously can keep my 3 bullets at 100 yards within a silver dollar almost every time. How much more accurate do I need? Why would I need to glass bed that? It's a legitimate question, and I'm not trying to make that sound like a smart aleck question. I'm just thinking, how much more could I improve my accuracy? You know what I mean? So I don't see why I need it. That's my point. But again, just telling you like I see it. In fact, we were shooting at 175 yards one day, and my bullet holes were almost touching each other. And I had a young boy there that I was teaching to shoot. In fact, one of his deer were on my wall for like 10 years because his family couldn't afford to buy it back. I said, well, I'll have it mounted for you, and it'll be here if you ever want it. You can come get it, And they weren't going to mount it, It was a nice deer, and it was his first deer. And so I mounted it and paid for it myself and just hung it on the wall here as one of the deer killed on the farm. But I said, if you ever want it, you come and get it, And so one day he did. He came back and got it. Anyway, that boy, when I was, helping him learn how to hunt and shoot and stuff, we were shooting at 175 yards, and I shot where the 3 bullets were pretty close to touching each other, and then he shot 3 bullets, and they were touching each other. I was pretty amazed that young kid could do that. He really he was a really good shot. So that's my point about the glass. I don't get it. I mean, I don't know anything about it. I've never even seen it done. I don't even know what it looks like. What you talk when you say glass bedding. Let's see. James D. Robin Hood. In fact, that was my nickname in high school. And it wasn't a smart aleck nickname. People weren't saying it to put me down or anything. Most of them were pretty admirable about it. The fact that I was like a Missouri state champion when I was like 16, In fact, when I was a senior, I've told you this before, but when I was a senior in high school, the coaches didn't want to teach archery. They didn't want to mess with it. but they had archery on the curriculum, and they said, if you want to teach the archery, we'll give you passes to get out of your classes, as long as you keep your grades up. Well, I got straight A's, or actually we had the ESMIF grade scale. I had all E's, which is the same as all A's. And I got to teach archery my senior year. I hardly ever went to class. That was like double heaven for me, man. So, anyway. And then the one jerk coach made me jump on the trampoline, and that ruined my archery career. It just messed me up big time. Let's see. GPO Marine Shop, you said you met Charlie Daniels, Merle Haggard, and John Hartford, and Allison Krauss. Any others? Yeah, quite a few. Jim Ed Brown, Louise Mandrell. I don't know. There was quite a few of them. The Diamond Reel band, all the guys in Diamond Reel. In fact, I've told this story before, but I was talking to this one guy. I thought he was one of the roadies. I swear I did. We had just done our sound check, and then their band pulled in, and they started hauling all their equipment into the studio there, or on the stage there. And one of the guys saw my mandolin, starts talking to me, and I told him I built it. And then he was really interested, and he just talked. We talked for 45 minutes at least. I just thought he was one of the road crew. I really did. And I had no idea. The curtain came up, and he was the lead guitar player. I couldn't believe it, for Diamond Reel. Anyway, yeah, I've met quite a few of them. Charlie Daniels was one of the coolest, nicest guys. Merle Haggard was just awesome. All of the rest of them were super nice, except for Patty Loveless. Patty Loveless, not nice at all. At least, it may have just been a bad day, a bad night, I don't know. But when we opened for her, she wouldn't give you the time of day. And if you ask, like, could we get a picture? Okay, that kind of thing. Just like that. I thought, well, you witch? I didn't bother asking her for a picture. I didn't even want one. See you later, lady. Anyway, let's see. David Sutter says, bow and arrow entirely different from guns. I, too, was champion class shooter. Well, yeah, they're definitely different, but when you learn to aim at 100 yards with a bow and arrow, and how to stay on target, and how to keep that point on there, you kind of can do that reasonably easy with a gun, compared to a bow at 100 yards. When you're at a bow at 100 yards, that shooting a bow at 100 yards is almost equivalent to what I just did with that 500 yards. In my mind, a bow at 100 yards ain't no simple thing, especially when you're talking a stick bow. This is pre-compound days. It was just a stick and a string and a knock. You had a knocking point, but you had no sights. You had no peeps or anything on your string, and you could only use fixed sights out there. You could not, have any kind of magnification. You could not have any levels. You could not, it was just a stick, a string, and a little sight. That's it. That's all you had, and shooting at 100 yards. And if you weren't mostly in about a 9-inch bullseye, if you weren't mostly in that, you weren't in the competition. I mean, I'm not saying in every shot. I'm just saying the majority of your arrows needed to be in that. Out of 6 arrows, you probably ought to have at least 2 or 3 arrows every time in that gold. And the other ones ought to be pretty close, to be in the competition. So when you get that steady shooting a bow at that kind of distance, it ain't too hard to get that steady with a gun. Let's see. GMP music celebrities. Well, I guess I mentioned all of the ones I can think of. See, Empress John says, I didn't know if you knew the glass bedding is for reinforcement. Didn't want to be argumentative, but I'm retired. Well, see, no, I didn't know what it's for. I truly don't know anything about it. But when you guys mentioned it, I thought maybe that would help, because that would probably reinforce this wood, because this wood is kind of brittle. So, yeah, I'm not, like I said, I'm not opposed to it. People keep saying it helps the accuracy. Well, I don't know why I need to help the accuracy. I need to help the reinforcement. That part I get, 100% get that. David Sutter, because you needed it as wood shrinks and will change your impact, all target shooters rifles have been in actions. Okay. Ronald Todd, just noticed that since the YouTube police have been watching you, the more commercials they're posting while you're live. I don't know how that would relate, but I guess it could. Old Marine Chef says, oh yeah, Bill Monroe you met, I believe. Yeah, I did meet Bill Monroe. I met, well, on the bluegrass side, I've met Bill Monroe. I met the Osborne brothers, Jim and Jesse, Carl Story. These are mostly real old timers. I met Doyle several times. I've met, when I was on the radio, I met a lot of them, just briefly, a lot of them. I don't know. There's a lot of them in bluegrass that I right now drawing a blank, but there's a bunch of them. You know me in names. Let's see. Empress John, can't wait till you start doing the stock checkering. It will make a preacher lay his Bible down. Well, I don't know about that, but I'm hoping it turns out okay. I'm trying to come up with a really nice design. I don't want it to look okay. I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I made this look real angular on purpose because that's kind of the norm. But I wasn't necessarily thinking this would be my final design. I'm hoping to make mine more flowy, more roundy, curvy looking, floral design type thing. I know that the checkering will be a challenge in that, but I think I'm up for that. I'm okay with that. But I don't think it's going to be easy, checkering what I have in mind if I ever get to what I have in mind. I may be out of my mind by the time I get to it. David Sutter's got question marks. I'm not sure what that means. Rhonda Vincent. Oh, yeah, I've met Rhonda quite a few times. I got Rhonda's phone number on my phone. I've called Rhonda a time or two over the years, mostly about sending her songs. Not my songs necessarily. I was promoting other people's songs the times I've called her. Let's see. I guess that's it. Thank you, guys. It's 2:00. I better get going, so see if I can help Isaac with his go-kart. But I will see you back here tomorrow with something else. Thanks for being here.